When we look around on the internet world of filmmaking, we're constantly bombarded by profiles and courses that are promising how easy it is to begin your glorious new life as a full-time filmmaker. Just grab a mirrorless camera, a drone, and a gimbal, start shooting, and before long, you're gonna be able to quit your job and spend your time perfecting your desk setup and stringing cool LED lighting strips all under your shelves like I did. But the reality is that the path to creating a filmmaking career is paved with dirty secrets that most people never mention when they tell you to follow your passion. So in this video, I'm gonna get into 6 of the least talked about filmmaking realities that I've learned over the last 15 years or so you know what to realistically expect. Don't worry though, this isn't a doom and gloom video because making filmmaking into your full-time job is still totally possible. But it's better to go into it with your eyes open instead of expecting smooth sailing and getting discouraged when it gets rough. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's say you've always loved cameras and have shot some great looking footage in the past, and you've decided to invest in some decent gear and start shooting some serious projects to showcase your work and start representing yourself as a professional. You find a cool idea for a story, set up some interviews with people you think would be great characters, and you're already seeing the finished edit in your head. How hard can it be, right? No! You've got a good eye, a solid base of technical knowledge, and all the motivation in the world. But the cold, hard truth is that your first projects are probably going to suck, and that's okay. I'm not saying they're gonna be bad in the sense that you don't know how to compose a frame or your color grading isn't on point. It's just that there's so much that goes into great storytelling that unless you're some sort of prodigy, there is no way you're gonna nail it right out of the gate. I'm saying this from personal experience because the first time I tried to shoot my first short film, I had years of photography experience and journalism training, and I figured that I'd find it pretty easy to do something solid. I watched a bunch of short films on the New Yorker website, and I was pretty sure I could at least do as well. But I quickly realized that I was deluding myself. It's not like that project was horrible or anything, but I saw how big a gap there was between what I thought I could make and what I actually came up with, and I realized I had a lot to learn. Ira Glass, the creator of the This American Life podcast, said that if you have good taste, and if you're watching this channel, you obviously have impeccable taste, you're gonna have to work very hard to get your skills caught up to that taste. And that's been very true in my experience because almost no one nails it from day one. You're not gonna reinvent the genre on your first time out, and your first attempts are gonna be awkward. That's just the way it is. But if you know that going in, you won't sink into a deep depression when you don't get your short into Con or something, and you accept it for what it is and move on to the next one. Eventually your skills will catch up to your taste, but it's gonna take time. The next illusion I want to dispel is the fantasy about all the glorious amounts of free time you're gonna have when you finally quit your day job and become a full-time filmmaker, because the truth is that if you want to do this well, you're probably gonna have to work way more than 9 to 5 people do, and with a lot less security. True, you're gonna be able to get up when you want, most non-shooting days that is, and you can skip the rush hour commute, but successful filmmakers are basically small business owners, and they work a lot. I personally put in way more than 40 hours a week, and I generally work 7 days a week as well sometimes. I do make sure to carve off time for vacations, but when I'm here and in work mode, it's pretty much full time all the time. Weekends don't matter because you're not on a Monday to Friday schedule, and they're all just work days pretty much. Of course, I take days off when needed and vacations like I said during the year, but a normal week for me involves working all day, every day. I take breaks when I want and I don't answer to a boss, and I can take a nap at noon if it feels right. But there is always more to do, and it's not a job for people looking to stop grinding and just chill. Successful filmmakers, the ones who are hustling and making things happen, are juggling multiple projects usually, and constantly networking and making new connections, also developing new projects and writing pitches, submitting budgets, editing personal films, managing their accounting, maintaining and growing an online presence, and a million other things that go into running a business. And that's not even mentioning the shoot days, which are around 10 to 12 hours standard before even going into overtime. The good news is that it's really satisfying and usually pretty fun because you're working for yourself and doing things you're interested in. But if you're used to the security of a 9 to 5 with a guaranteed paycheck and hoping a career in filmmaking is gonna free up your time, I'm sorry, but that's just not gonna happen. At least not if you wanna do it well. My photography mentor once told me when I was just starting out that most people in this world work at least 40 hours a week at things they hate. So if you wanna have a career that you love, why would you expect to be able to do any less than that? And in my experience, it takes more, much more. The The other fantasy I've personally had shattered is the idea that once I turned pro, I'd be able to spend my time pursuing mostly things that interested me in personal projects, but I quickly learned that personal projects generally don't make any money, at least not directly. Most personal projects are sort of like giant money and time pits that you just keep shoveling resources into and almost never generate much in the way of cash in return. Not counting the dozens or even hundreds of unpaid hours you'll have to put in, you'll need thousands of dollars in gas, gear, film festival entry fees, software licenses, crew fees, and a ton of other little things that you're probably not expecting. And unless you strike gold right away, these things are usually worth less than what you put into them. To put it into perspective, a friend of mine pre-sold a really cool short film to The Guardian, which does some really great doc work on their website. But the maximum total budget for the whole thing, including post, was $5,000, and they spent 95% of that just hiring a local producer to help them arrange access. So more than likely, you're gonna lose a substantial amount of cash before the whole thing is done, and he knew that and accepted it. The real benefits to personal projects, apart from satisfying your own creative curiosity, is from the exposure you'll get, which will lead to real money in the long term. But in the short term, prepare to take a hit. Now, I'm absolutely not saying to skip personal projects, because personal projects are where you allow your style to shine through, and if you do them well and get them seen widely, it will lead to people coming to you because they want that same style in their own projects, which can be very profitable. It's of course possible to make good money from a personal project by selling it to a big broadcaster, but in my experience, that's the exception, not the rule. And that leads me to the next point, something I've mentioned before on this channel, and that's that most filmmakers out there will need some sort of day job to support these personal projects. I mean shooting things you may or may not be interested in order to pay the bills and fund your own work. I know a very successful filmmaker who earns the bulk of his money shooting fitness videos, and another one who does reality TV half the year. I personally work as a DP on other people's films as my main source of income, and only rarely do I pursue my own work, and only if I'm really passionate about the idea. If it makes you feel better, Leonardo da Vinci even had a day job for pretty much his entire life, doing everything from designing siege equipment for bloodthirsty nobles to doing portraits of rich aristocrats. Most creative people throughout history have needed day jobs, and it's probably going to be the same for most of us too. These day jobs can be fun and interesting, and they can also be mind-numbingly boring, but the majority of us need to do work we may not be passionate about to survive. I'm not saying all the time, but definitely not none of the time either. I've made peace with that, and I actually enjoy my day job a lot. And when it comes to making money, one of the dirtiest little secrets out there is that it's more about who you know and not what you can do. Don't get me wrong, talent and skill are required to get ahead, and having a well-connected uncle isn't enough to make you a successful filmmaker, but the money is controlled by clients, outlets, agencies, and production companies who often prefer to work with people that they already have relationships with. That means no matter how good the quality of your work you have on your website or how slick your social media posts are, if the people who have the budget to pay you don't know who you are, you won't get the job. Almost no one is Googling for their next DP or director. They just reach out to people they know and like and ask for recommendations. So how do you break in? Now, I've harped on and on about networking so much on this channel, but it really is the only way. You have to identify the people you want to work with and find a way to meet them, in person if you can. Then you need to stay in contact for a long period of time, and eventually, maybe they'll give you a shot. I made a full networking guide that you can download for free, link in the description, but the ugly truth is that you have to be on people's radar before any sort of paying work comes your way, or be sitting on a nice little trust fund. So work through the anxiety, because no one likes reaching out to new people, but you really can't expect anything to happen otherwise. The last thing I want to touch on here is related in the sense that networking is really all about building a community, and the truth is that filmmakers can't succeed on their own. I've mentioned this in other videos as well, but it's so important I'm just going to keep repeating it over and over, probably forever. Filmmaking is inherently a team sport, and while it's definitely more comfortable to sit and chill in front of our sweet dual monitor setups, you're going to need other people to make really great work. That could be bringing on DPs if you're a director, or working with a great editor or a talented composer, or maybe you want to run a YouTube channel and you need people who can shoot good quality BTS. Your community can be made up of all sorts of people at all different levels in the industry, but good films are very rarely made by just one person alone. So when you're networking, don't just focus on people with their hands on the money pouches. Look for meaningful connections with other creative people you respect. The more friends you have in the industry, the less alone you'll feel, and at the same time, the better the chance you're going to have of of getting recommended for something when an opportunity comes up. So that's it for this video, 6 dirty secrets of life in filmmaking that people don't usually talk about. Feel free to check out the free networking guide below, and if you've learned any other dirty secrets that I didn't mention here, drop them in the comments. See ya!